Over 100 years, one group controlled the entire country, not by accident, not by chance, but by design. And at the most dangerous part, many people did not even realize it. Welcome back. In episode 2, we talk about the arrival of the settlers and how Liberia began to form not just a country but as a system of division. Today, we go deeper because this is where powers become structural. It is after 1847, Liberia is now independent country, independent republic, a first black republic, a system, a symbol to the world that black people can govern themselves. And on that surface, everything looks strong. There is a government, that there are institutions, there is a leadership. But underneath, there is control. The Americo-Liberians, descendants of the free black Americans, did not just participate in government. They dominated the government. They control the presidency, the legislature, the economy, education, and even access to opportunity. And this control was not temporary. It lasted for over a century. From the late 1800s all the way to 1980, power remained in the hands of a small elite group. And at the center of that control was one of political force, the Chewy Party. This was not just a political party. This was a system. For decades, the Chewy Party ruled Liberia almost without opposition. Elections happened, but real competition did not exist. Leadership changed, but power stayed in the same circle. It's not changing. This is what we call one party dominates the system. But let's say it in a simple term. The same people keep power for generations and generations. Now, think about this, or think about this, what it means. If the same group controls leadership for over 100 years, who gets the opportunity? Who gets education? Who gets to make decisions? The same group, the same black American or Americo Liberian. And what about everyone else? The indigenous population, the highest population, the majority of the country, they were present but not powerful. This is where the silence began. Not because people had nothing to say, but because the system did not allow them to be heard. Let's bring this into communication theory, right? Uh, Walter Lippmann. Walter Lippmann once explained that people do not respond to the real world, they respond to the picture in their heads. Now, ask yourself, who controls those pictures? The people in power. If you control education, information, leadership, then you control how people see reality. So, what kind of message was being sent in Liberia during this time? A message that said, this is how things are supposed to be. You are not ready to lead. This system works a lot. That's how they control our people, that they are the only preferred leadership, and that leadership is the only leadership that can move Liberia forward. So they control the system just like that. And when people heard something long enough, they begin to believe it. Now, this is how power becomes normal. Power becomes normal not through force alone, but through acceptance. Our people accepted those particular systems they set up for a long time, so it became normal. The indigenous don't understand what they call the power system, the power struggle, and how government is being handled. So they believe that way because they were given the opportunity to go to school and learn. No, because they know very well if they send the kids to school early, it would have been a problem in the near future. So this is how the hegemony works. People don't always resist power. Sometimes they live inside it without questioning the system. But silence does not mean peace because under that silence, there was a frustrations. A farmer who could not access opportunity, a young person who could not enter leadership, a community that felt excluded. They saw the system, they felt the system, but they could not change the system. And when people cannot express their frustrations openly, it does not disappear. It builds quietly, year after year, generation after generation. Now, let's talk about the institution because strong countries are not built on individual. They are built on systems that include everyone. But in Liberia at that time, institutions were not inclusive. They were controlled. Education was limited to a certain group of people or family. Economic opportunity were uneven. Our political participation was restricted. So, what happened when institution does not represent the people? The answer to that is the people disconnect from the system. And when people feel disconnected from the system, from their own country system, that country becomes a fragile. Not immediately, but eventually, because power without inclusion is not stability, it is pressure. And pressure always found a way out. By the late 1970s, things started to change. The pressure was no longer silent. People were beginning to caution the system openly. They were beginning to demand change. They were beginning to resist, and the system was not ready for that. Because when the system built on control for a long time, for too long, it forgets how to respond to change. Liberia at that time looked stable, but beneath it was a fragile country. For 100 years, power was controlled, voice was limited, and silence was mistaken for peace. But silence is not peace. Silence is often the beginning of something much louder. So that's the end of episode 3.